One of the world's largest video game publishers, Take-Two Interactive, is up at 4%. It's still down nearly 20% year to date following the rout. The company's stock's expected to do very well this year, though analysts forecast medium upside of 30%. Gaming has outgrown the movie industry to increasing its sales rather than increasing prices. Take-Two led the way in changing when it announced last year that the latest edition of its basketball game would cost $70. Video game prices remained at $60 for decades, years, and were actually more expensive decades ago when adjusted for inflation. Strauss Zelnick is the CEO of Take-Two. He joins us via Skype here in New York. Are you surprised at the fuss that's being made, bearing in mind the adjusted price for inflation of your games is way lower as a result because the price hasn't gone up?
Well, also, the price in the U.S. is actually lower than all other developed countries' frontline prices, and there really hasn't been a fuss. I think we've had great success with NBA 2K21 at the $70 frontline price point, and I think that's a reflection of what an amazing title it is. It's our first title built from the ground up for next generation. It includes the new city mode, which is this vast open world where you can participate in the culture of basketball while you're not playing the actual game. So I think consumers have understood largely, and the results speak for themselves. They're great.
We know the numbers for gaming. I mean, I'm constantly astonished at just the sheer numbers, not only the revenues, the profits, the number of people taking part, the whole infrastructure, but it has benefited during a pandemic when people haven't been outside. As we move away from that, I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing that we're going to be allowed out. Don't go. I'm not going there. Don't worry, Strauss. But I am saying, do you see that it will have an effect as the pandemic's effects wane?
Well, I think if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said certainly. In fact, if you'd asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have expected that we would fare so well. And obviously, anytime we talk about our great news, and it has been great news, we have to bear in mind that the pandemic's been a terrible tragedy for so many people in so many different ways. I think we do take some comfort that we've been able to provide entertainment during those times. But undoubtedly, the whole industry has actually benefited. The question that you pose is the right one to ask, which is, okay, so when the world comes back to normal, and it will, I'm not quite sure when, but it will, does everything go back to the way it was? And the answer is certainly no. Activate, a leading media consultancy, has said they expect post-pandemic engagement and spending to be about 14% higher than pre-pandemic. I think anecdotally, we're seeing results that are vastly better than that. We have had the entire time, and engagement continues to be stellar, even though the world is returning to normal in many places. And it remained stellar over the past summer when, as you'll recall, cases diminished meaningfully. So we actually think that we've encouraged new players, we've brought back old players, and people are astonished by what they see, and I think they're going to stick around.
So what have you learned during this? If we were to now look to what the next iteration is going to be, what will you be incorporating into future developments that you believe you've learned by the much greater engagement that took place during pandemic?
I think what we realized is that people like to consume entertainment with other people. And with our titles and our competitors' titles, you don't just get great graphics, great stories, great characters, great gameplay. You also have the ability to consume that with other people, with other communities at the same time, live all around the world. So you can talk to your friends while you're playing. You can compete with your friends. You can make new friends, and people do. In fact, I was recently asked, do you think people would be having conference calls inside Grand Theft Auto Online because it's a lot more fun there than on Zoom? And I think the answer is people already are. There's a level of engagement in interactive entertainment that just isn't available in other forms of entertainment. Doesn't mean it will supplant all other forms, but we have seen a systemic shift in favor of interactive entertainment, and I do believe that will continue.
Fascinating. Sir, may I give you an invitation to come back later in the year so we can discuss exactly how, well, first of all, to see how your predictions are panning out, and we can move forward on that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
It would be my great pleasure. Thank you for having me.